This Sagittarius full moon, it describes coming out of a crisis and surrendering to an opportunity. The crisis we're coming out of is, how do you compromise between the need for security and the need for freedom at the same time? In lower frequencies, this seems to be the impossible negotiation, where oftentimes we take from our own security to afford our freedom, or take from our freedom to afford security. But we can have both from a higher frequency. And what I mean by a higher frequency is accessing it through Saturn. The character can make that possible, and building an infrastructure around your own ideals as a visionary, according to what's most authentic to who you are. That's what makes that compromise possible. Because in that, we're not selling the soul. We're not getting desperate. We're not putting ourselves in a bind for what was already determined as our destiny. The destiny is already there, not as a destination, but as a realization, a revelation of the self. Who am I? Oh, I see now. That's who I am. That's where the two come together and make sense. Jupiter transiting Cancer is expansion of a sense of security. This full moon Sagittarius is an expansion of freedom. And the compromises between the two, in that the Lord of the algorithm of freedom, which is Sagittarius, Jupiter, it's headed into Cancer for a year transit after 12 years. And at the same time that Jupiter is entering Cancer, we have the full moon, in which the moon is the Lord of Cancer in Sagittarius in full illumination. That's initiating this meaning to be fulfilled over our life, that we really can have security and freedom at the same time, working toward the same aim, sourced from the same vision. Some of that is in surrender and release. Releasing a little bit of control. A lot of what that's going to mean is something that we have to download and receive. The North Node is at Pisces. We moved karma through Pisces. So there's much now that we have to receive concerning the North Node, Pisces. Sagittarius algorithm of spirit, it allows us to step into the attitude of release and surrender. It's about expanding, not getting caught up in the fine details that we may not be able to define, label, name, control, manage, perfect. After all, that is what Mercury seeks to do through the algorithms of Gemini and Virgo. Through Gemini, it is obsessed with the details. Its curiosity is endless, overthinking. Through Virgo, a possibility of overanalyzing, especially when it's through the south node of the moon. And a lot of this transit is about, this time period is about the lunar. It is a lunar time period that we're in. Pluto went direct out of Capricorn into Aquarius conjunct the moon. We are in lunar phases. Lunar. Everything during this time period of us transferring into Aquarius Pluto era, it is through lunar codes within ourselves. We really can have both. Yes, we can. Sagittarius is where we let the chips fall where they may. It's where the objective is not in focusing on the fine details, but on expansion, growth, progression, forward motion. And what is unique about Sagittarius is the value is in what you learn en route, on the way. It is Gemini that is about collecting and stopping at every detail to understand, label, name, decode, figure out, ask why, how, who, what, when, where, and everything has a time and place. But right now, with Jupiter coming out of Gemini, we're being asked to release that habit. That used to be the habit, and it was very necessary to restore critical thinking. Critical thinking has been restored in the people with the Gemini-Jupiter transit. But now that that has taken place, we have to go through Sagittarius to get back to, okay, it's time to expand and explore. It's time to release the need for control over certain details, the obsession with details. We're in receiving mode, North Node, Pisces. Mars and Uranus will have a sharp compromise as it's in a squaring position. Uranus at Taurus, finishing out the degrees of Taurus, and Mars finishing out Leo. But most certainly Uranus will overpower Mars, giving us new marching orders for Mars to accomplish, and new direction for Mars to pursue and work for. It's Uranus who's going to give Mars specific instructions as he transits through Virgo, giving us efficiency, refinement, and the details that brings in the velour of who we are. The Sagittarius expansive full moon is a time where we realize where we can afford to expand, to step into some optimism, enthusiasm, an upbeat tempo and attitude, longing for a bigger picture, trusting the process, knowing that there's no wrong direction to turn as long as I am sincere, as long as I'm being true to myself, as long as my intention is coming from an authentic space. I can't turn the wrong direction. Not under the forces of Sagittarius. As Mercury goes through Cancer, there's an abundance of ethereal energy surplus from the Gemini-Jupiter transit that Mercury will home in on details that have to dissolve and soften into the emotional body. This is consulting the oracle with our ethereal body. An abundance of experiences and changes in life, society, the headlines, government, the news channels. The ethereal was full of energy and motion. And every event has us to examine ourselves and where we are with all of these changes that are taking place. Well, Mercury going through Cancer, it will make sure that we look at those things in context to considering our inner child, honoring our inner child, respecting our inner child, having reverence for the emotional circumstances that we know we have to respect going forward. It's checking in with the moon. It's checking in with Jupiter under the territory of the moon, Cancer. All things considered, the inner child, the source of expression, the source of authentic expression, the source of self. This is where the abundance of logic, reasoning, rigid thought, obsession with the details and overthinking. Now the moon can be the oracle and judge of what is valuable and what is not, what is important and what is not, what should be considered and what should not. Let the moon do it through Cancer. We're bringing it to the oracle. Jupiter is going to the oracle with what it collected from Gemini, and Mercury is going to the oracle with what it collected from Gemini. And through the consultation of the oracle of Cancer, the oracle of the inner child, that's how clarity will come in. That's how we will home in on and understand what is the direction to go, what is the thing to do, what is for me and what is not for me. Your soul is going to confirm and let you know. The baptism of Jupiter and the baptism of Mercury. Polarities as lords, Sagittarius and Gemini. The axis of Sagittarius and Gemini, the axis of Pisces and Virgo through Jupiter and Mercury, it's going through Cancer, which includes the North and South Node, and the hosting lords of the North and South Node transit that we are evolving through, Mercury and Jupiter. This is significant. We are going to the Divine Mother, the mother of energy, the mother of our emotion, the mother of our intuition, Cancer, Yemeya. She is determining where we go from here and how. Because wherever we go and whatever we do, it must be true to the self. And self is sourced from the waters of Cancer. That is where the source is, the self is sourced from. There are 3 water points. Cancer, that is the water of the self. Scorpio, the waters of you and others. Pisces, the waters of you and the world and infinite. Everything starts with the self, because we only experience ourselves as we walk through life. Regardless of who we meet or interact with, we're experiencing reflections of where we are at and what we're doing with ourselves. The circumstance and condition and status of the self reported back, reflected back through the feedback that we get from others. Understand, everything must be consistent with and in respect to the inner child. This North and South Node transit is based on the cultural transformation of Mars traveling through Cancer. Therefore, Cancer is everything in what we're accomplishing. And we're coming out of the last cultural adjustment, which was Mars through Gemini, which is why Gemini is a place of emphasis right now. We are dissolving the reasons that we have wars, the reasons that we have division, the reason why there's male versus female, conservative versus liberal, left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, the polarization of Mars and Venus, South Node Libra, North Node Virgo. This is being dissolved through that. And it has to include Gemini because Gemini Mars transit was the last cultural shift of North and South Node, Aries, and Libra. That's the culture that brought that in. The polarization of the people. That is when the wars began between the masculine and the feminine. That's when the political awareness heightened through Gemini. And Jupiter collected all of it like a net thrown into the ocean, dragging that net through the ocean, collecting all of those thoughts, all of those arguments, all of those opinions, all of those point of views, and it's bringing it into Cancer waters to dissolve it, to baptize it, to flush it, not to get rid of it, but to convert it to wisdom and inner wisdom, to convert it to a sharp intuition, an intuitive awareness of the world now that we're coming out of in comparison to what is possible as visionaries through Neptune and Aries. Saturn conjuncting with Neptune, it's time to be the architect of the ideal of self.